So I think dealing with crazy people is something absolutely none of us enjoy. At least I hope there's no one out there that's like, I love when someone's ridiculously crazy. But this guy's neighbor apparently showed up at his door at 3 a.m. banging on the door asking to fight him when he had never met the guy before. That's living next to crazy, which is not what you want to do. Either way, I thought it would be an insane story, so yeah, without further ado, let's go.
Nice racking her ass Brazilian. Just turned 21, but my bank's a million. Swear.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. Here is yesterday's comment of the day. Appreciate everyone that takes the time to comment. Today I had a great story sent into my email about this dude's insane neighbor, so I figured I would make a video about it, and then I have a bunch of other good stories too that I wanted to put together, so this should be a long one. Hope y'all enjoy. If you like the long videos, press like and let's go. Alright, so this guy had just moved into a new house about like 4 days ago, and the people that live on the left and right of him had come over and told him that the guy who lives to the back left of him is a little bit nuts, and the guy who lived there before him had some beef with him. But whatever, there's no issue for 4 days, so he thinks that it's probably not that big of a deal. But one night, he's sleeping, and he thinks he hears knocking, but he's not that sure, and then his phone starts blowing up, and he had like one of those doorbells with the camera. And so he checks it and he sees that it's being pressed over and over. So he pulls up the camera and there's some dude that he doesn't recognize wearing nothing but a beanie, like the ones with the long ears, pounding on the door. He had pants on, he did have shorts on, but he's pounding on the door with like shorts and this bunny hat on, screaming about how they're gonna have to fight and he better come out here so they can settle this like men and he's made a mistake. And the person who sent this to me is sitting there, looking at their phone, watching this, being like, what is this guy upset about? They don't know this guy. They don't even recognize him. So they come over the intercom, like on their doorbell, and they start talking to the guy. And he says, what do you want? And the guy's like, I know that you put the fish in my backyard, and whoever put the fish in my backyard, I said I was going to beat him up, so get out here. And the sub is really confused because he didn't put fish in anyone's backyard. He doesn't know what the guy is talking about. So he tells the guy as much, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything to your backyard. I've only lived here for 4 days. But you need to go or I'm going to call the police. And the guy looks like he's thinking a little bit, you know, when someone's got that do-do-do-do-do processing look. And he says, wait, you lived here for 4 days. Did you know? And then says someone's name. And he goes, no, I didn't know that guy. And he says, oh, well, I'm the guy that lives to the back left of you. My name is X. And he says, okay, yeah, I heard you didn't like the guy who lived here before, but I'm not him and I have nothing to do with him. Well, that guy, before he moved out, must have taken some fish and thrown them over my wall, and I was on vacation, so I came back, and there's a pile of dead, stinky fish in my backyard, and there's bugs and maggots everywhere. Which I understand being mad, dude. Imagine coming home from vacation, someone dumped a bunch of dead fish in your backyard. I would be pissed too. So he thought the guy still lives here, started coming over to fix this fish situation. But it looked like the guy that had moved out had decided he was gonna have one last hurrah to troll his arch nemesis of the neighborhood. So he had like dumped all these fish over the wall. So you would think with this being solved and him realizing, oh, this isn't the guy that used to live here. Like, this guy is not the guy that did the fish thing. He would go home, maybe be a little bit apologetic for the fact that he woke him up attacking his door at 3 a.m. But instead, he looks at the doorbell and says, well, someone's got to pay for the fish in my backyard, so come out here because I want to fight you. And he's really confused and he's like, yeah, I didn't do it. And Mr. Bunny Hat starts saying that he doesn't really care if he did it or not. At this point, he just wants to make somebody pay for the fish in his backyard. Which, yeah, it sucks, but I don't really think it's make someone have to pay worthy. Could you imagine if he ended up going full Batman evil villain? All these other evil villains, you know, have some huge goal. He's like, I just didn't like the fact that someone put fish in my backyard. So he tells the guy, like, yeah, I'm not gonna fight you, dude. I have nothing to do with that. And the guy in the bunny hat starts screaming at the doorbell even more, saying that he's a coward, and if he wasn't willing to come out there and face the consequences of his actions, then he was always gonna look at him as a coward. And he asks him, like, well, what do you mean I gotta come face the consequences of my action? If I have nothing to do with this, how is this my fault? And the neighbor really doesn't have a good answer. He just really wanted like him to come out and fight. It was like he was just looking for a fight. He had amped himself up to come fight his nemesis, and now he just wanted to fight some random dude. So he tells him, I'm not gonna fight you, and you need to get out of here or I'm gonna call the cops. Like, I'm not messing around, man. This is serious. I'm not finding this amusing. This isn't funny. You gotta go. So the neighbor leaves back to his house, and the next day he's outside, and the guy who lives to the right to him says, what was all that yelling last night? So he tells him the story, and he starts saying that he had had another similar experience with this guy, where him and the guy who had moved out before the subscriber moved in had been fighting. And he had come to the wrong house looking for that guy. And when he answered the door and said, I'm not the person you're looking for, he said, well, whatever, you'll do. This guy just looks at life like it's a fighting video game, you know, just constantly looking for the next challenge, starts beef with people, and then just goes to fight someone that looks vaguely like them. Whatever, you know, you live in America, I'll fight you too. The guy I wanted to fight is American. Whatever, you're a human, I can fight you. He starts making the jump. He's like, sure, whatever, I fought a few house cats. It was what it was. Either way, they've all just decided they're gonna avoid this guy, and they're thinking about getting like a protective order just because he's threatened so many people in the neighborhood. But yeah, this dude's got some issues. I don't know what you do if your neighbor's just trying to fight you for something he made up in his head. Alright, so this next one, this person sent in to me, and they had just gotten to college and had their dorm room. And the way it was set up is like they shared a room with one person. There was a bathroom, and then there was another room with two people off of that bathroom, and that was like that dorm unit. So 4 people to a bathroom, 2 people in each room, so 2 bedrooms. And there was no living room or anything, so for the most part, people would hang out in their bedrooms. And the other 2 people in the room adjacent to his happened to have been friends for a while, like they had known each other in high school, they had applied here together, they had tried to get room together. So they got along very well, they were friends, and because of that, they would talk very loudly. And it's not like dorms are known for being incredibly fantastic building, like you can hear stuff pretty easily through the wall. They don't really splurge on materials, cause at least if it's similar to the college I went to, like they know people are gonna be there. They're not really worried about competing if it's the only on-campus housing. But whatever, they would talk loudly, and for the most part, it wasn't that big of a deal, except for late at night, it would kind of keep them up late. But on this particular night, it was the night before a bunch of midterm exams, so the entire building had said that they had to start quiet hours at like 8:30 p.m. just so everyone could study and like focus and not be distracted. Well, for some reason, the 2 guys in this room adjacent to his decided that night they were going to debate Star Wars, and I don't really know much about Star Wars on the level of debating it. Like, I've seen them all, I like the movies, I like the Lego games, but I wouldn't know enough to start debating it. And if you're gonna debate a movie or whatever, I feel like the rule is you can't get that heated. If you start getting mad about arguing over things that don't actually exist, it's kind of crazy. Well, both of these guys were a little nerdy, so they start this Star Wars argument, and it quickly devolves from like a normal conversation about disagreements on movies and lore to them full-on screaming at each other. And it's about 9 p.m., which is well into quiet hours, and within like 2 minutes of them starting to scream at each other, they hear somebody underneath them with a broom like banging on the floor. And so the person who sent this to me is getting embarrassed because like the unit numbers are marked like per 4 people. So these guys are kind of representing the entire unit badly, and people are starting to go on like this group chat thing and be like, who is that? Why are they being so loud? What's going on? And because he's so embarrassed and just wants it to end and he feels bad for everyone that's trying to study, the person who sent this to me goes and bangs on the wall and is like, can you guys please keep it down? Like, stop it. And it shifts from being mad at Star Wars to them just yelling about how their roommates suck and their roommates never let them have any fun and they should just mind their business. And now the subscriber's getting pissed off. They're like, you guys are gonna make our entire apartment look bad, and then when I tell you to shut up, you're gonna start talking crap. So he goes up to their door and knocks on the door, and immediately it goes dead silent. You would think for people that were talking so much crap about the guy who just told them to be quiet and saying how much their roommates sucked, that they would be very excited to open the door and say something to his face. But no, it was like the reality of having to say something like that to somebody made them both very, very shy. So he starts saying through the door, like, if you guys have an issue, come on, like, let's talk about it, let's settle it. And nope, they didn't come out, they just ignored him, and eventually he goes back to his room, studies, and goes to bed. The next morning he wakes up, and obviously they had lived together for a while at that point, so he knew everybody's schedule. He knew that they didn't have classes for a bit, so he like faked leaving. I know that sounds nuts, but he basically said, all right, I'm out, went to the door, opened it, closed it, and then like tiptoed back and sat down. And as soon as they thought he was gone, they come out and they see him on the couch and they like turn white as a ghost. When someone is just exuding fear, you can almost smell the fear on them. You know, if you were a vampire, you'd be like, I can smell your fear. They look scared. And he starts saying like, guys, what's up? Like, you were talking so much crap last night. What was up with that? And these absolute masterminds must have realized that if they wanted to talk crap like that in real life, they might have to back it up, because they had a talk last night and decided to mutually just say that they didn't remember it and didn't know what he was talking about. Which has got to be one of the funniest ways people try to get out of stuff, is just being like, no, I don't know, that didn't happen. And so he looks at him and he's like, so you guys didn't yell at me through the wall last night that you could beat me up and I sucked and I never let you guys have any fun? And they were like, no, absolutely not. We would never do that. Yeah, it must have been the people underneath us. And he's like, oh, if it was the people underneath us, then we better go talk to them. Because, you know, we wouldn't want anyone underneath us to cause problems for our apartment. And they get even more shy, and they're like, oh, no, we don't have to do that. We don't have to. And the subscriber is like, guys, come on. If they were causing us to have this fight and pretending to be you and impersonating you, we gotta settle this. We can't let this stand. This is gonna cause issues. And they were like, yeah, fine, we'll go. And he's like, all right, I'll come with you. Let's go down there. And they said, no, we're sure you're busy. We're sure you're busy. You don't have to come along. Don't sweat it. And at that point, he had clearly embarrassed them enough, so he said, all right, well, you guys go handle it. And he made them leave the apartment, and they couldn't really come back until he had class later. So he doesn't know where they went, but they definitely just pretended that they confronted him and they apologized. But for a few hours, they had to go hide out of the apartment. Overall, I think if you're going to talk crap, you just got to back it up. That's the rule. Like, if you don't want to have to back up talking crap, then don't scream that you could beat up your roommate through the wall and then not be able to beat up your roommate. You could avoid all of this by just not threatening people. It's a very easy solution to all these issues. All right, guys, I promise there's more stories, but I got to get the likes up here on the channel. It's starting to take me out of recommended, so I got to do what I got to do. If you are enjoying these, please hit the like button. It helps the video do better. I'd appreciate it, and I'll shut up and get back to the video now. Okay, this next one's just really, really stupid. So this person lives in a smaller town, and there's like 2 neighborhoods, and both of them happen to have a very active next door community, which is like, I don't know. Think about Twitter, but only for stuff in your neighborhood, but also a lot of boomers that just complain about a lot of stuff. Like, that's kind of the vibe if Karen made a Twitter, but just mostly Karens. Either way, though, this person just kept an eye on it. One, because sometimes it was useful, like if there was actually something going on in the neighborhood they needed to be aware of, but also mainly because it was entertaining. And one day they're checking it and they're like, oh, okay, this is what my neighborhood is slowly becoming, because the latest post that had a ton of traction, a ton of comments, a bunch of people talking about it, was a guy who had come outside to start his car and go to work and had found it smashed. The windshield had been destroyed. There was a big dent in the hood. It's pretty messed up. If you didn't know any better, then you would think somebody like took a sledgehammer to this thing and just went crazy. But the person in their description of the picture starts explaining, and in the picture itself, that somebody had taken a bunch of cantaloupes and just like pelted his car angrily. And I didn't realize cantaloupes could do that much damage, you know? Now I realize why Fruit Ninja was so angry. Those things could mess you up. I bet you as a child he lost his mother to a falling watermelon, and ever since he was trying to avenge them. Either way, somebody in the neighborhood had gotten pissed off at this guy, decided that they were going to destroy his car, but couldn't do it normally, wanted to use cantaloupes. Maybe because they thought it would be impossible to trace them back. And so they start laughing at this post, and then they realize there's a bunch of comments. So they go down to the comments, and the person, the mastermind, the evil genius behind the cantaloupe posting, hadn't been known at first. A bunch of people were guessing, asking if he had beef with anyone. He was like, no, not really. But the absolute genius responsible decided to expose himself, and I don't really understand why this happens so much on social media nowadays. Between rap music and like people's ability to post on Instagram and Twitter, people snitch on themselves. The guy, this old man, by the way, we're talking like a male Karen, probably wearing some Oakleys and an Under Armour shirt, cargo shorts, the whole shebang. In the comments started saying that he was the guy who had done it because he like had read somehow that it's more disrespectful to destroy someone's belongings with food. I don't know where he was reading that. If anyone knows, let me know, because it sounds insanely stupid, especially because destroying someone's car just is a felony. I'm pretty sure across the board, it's like a certain amount of damage done to someone's stuff, but shattering a windshield, breaking all of the stuff, denting the hood, whether it's with melons or a hammer, it still makes it illegal. But this absolute genius had decided to hop right on Nextdoor and just admit it, saying that he was mad at the guy because he wasn't mowing his lawn enough. Oh yeah, that makes total sense, bro. Someone's lawn's a little bit too long, grass getting a little bit unruly. Just start destroying their possessions. That'll make them definitely focused on that. If my lawn was a little bit long and someone started attacking my house, I guarantee you I would be a lot more focused on making sure my house was safe versus the agriculture out front. Obviously, a bunch of other people in the comments had told him that he was nuts for that and also pointed out that what he had done was illegal, so he had deleted his comment. Thankfully, a bunch of people had screenshotted it, so they start posting his comments in the comments. The guy who had originally posted about his car being stolen was like, oh yeah, I guess that guy does hate me because I didn't cut my grass enough, so what do I do now? Should I call the cops? Another guy who lives in the neighborhood who was a cop ends up going over there. The guy gets arrested. He does get released, like he ends up on like probation where you have to check in with the guy and whatnot, gets a huge fine, has to pay for everything. And most importantly, is a huge laughing stock. Like to this day on the Nextdoor chat, people just are posting like memes about cantaloupes and broken cars. And you'd think he'd be ashamed and just delete his account, but no, he's like so boomer, he just still wants to argue with them. So every time they make a meme about it, he's like, this is not funny. It was a very hard time for me and my family. Yeah, no one's denying that, bro. You got arrested, and I'm sure when you were trying to explain it to people and you said, I got really mad at a guy and destroyed his car with a cantaloupe, why would you do that, was one of the questions they asked, followed by, yeah, you're kind of a moron. I don't know. Overall, just don't commit crime, especially on your neighbors. And if you are going to commit crime on your neighbors, which you should not do, don't go admit it on social media, especially to the person. Yeah, it was so sick when I stole that guy's car. Like, you just text it to the person whose car you stole. Don't steal cars, but really don't do that. You're just being a moron. All over some grass, bro. What is up with, like, old men and being obsessed with grass? I don't get it, dude. You would think that their life literally depended on the state of their grass. You don't understand, Deborah. If I don't have the best lawn in the neighborhood, I lose my manhood. So the next story is semi-lawn related, but has nothing to do with the last neighborhood that we talked about. This guy who sent this to me has his own business where he like cuts people's grass. He has a bunch of lawns that he does, neighborhoods that he does, and he got hired by this guy to cut his grass once every 2 weeks. Pretty standard, most people do like once a month, once every 2 weeks, so he's over there and has no issue, and he's been doing it for a few months, and one day he's over there mowing the grass. And because he worked alone, he had these like headphones that drowned out the sound of the lawnmower because it's really loud and he could listen to podcasts. But he's mowing, minding his business, and he looks up and he sees a guy that's not the homeowner, but he had seen around the neighborhood a few times, like frantically waving, looking like he's having some huge type of emergency. So he turns off the mower, takes off his headphones, and is like, is everything okay? What's wrong? And the guy says, nothing's wrong, I just need to talk to you. Okay, nothing's wrong. It's such an emergency that you're acting like it's an emergency and you have to interrupt me doing my job. So he says, all right, what is it? And the guy's like, who gave you permission to mow this lawn? And he's a little bit confused because he had talked to the owner of this house quite a few times and it's not this guy. So he doesn't know, A, why this guy cares who gave him permission because it's not his house, and B, why he's asking because he's not the owner of the house. Like, why do you care and why do you even have a right to know? So he tells him, oh, the owner hired me to cut the grass. I do it. It's like a service, you know? thinking maybe he like misunderstood the guy's question and he's trying to hire him as well. And he says, well, I live next door. Okay, cool, good for you. And I don't like this sound. All right, well, I don't really know what to do about it. Well, maybe just turn down the sound on the lawnmower. What are you talking about, bro? Turn down the sound on the lawnmower? That's not how it works. It's making noise because that's how loud the engine is to operate it. It's not a speaker in there. You think they would have the speaker that loud on the lawnmower? And it's also like 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. It's not like it's early in the morning on a weekend. It's not like it's late at night. It's a perfect time to make noise. So he kind of tells the guy like, yeah, I can't do that. I'm just going to finish and then I'll be done. Well, when I mow my lawn, it's not that loud. And he's kind of confused. And he's like, well, do you use a push mower? No, I use one that looks like that. Well, then it's probably just as loud. And he's like, yeah, well, other people aren't working when I mow my lawn. And the guy says, look, guy, I'm sorry if you work from home, but you interrupting me is going to make me take a lot longer to cut this. Whereas if you would have left me alone, I probably would have been done by now. Like, I would have been out of your hair. You could have been on your conference call with no background noise, but you came over here to have this argument. I don't need your permission to cut this lawn. Well, I'm the neighbor, so you need to get my permission too. And he's looking at the guy like, no, I don't, man. That's not how it works. So he asked the guy a hypothetical question. So do you have to get this guy's permission to do anything at your house? And he's like, no, of course not. Okay, so then why would I need to get your permission to cut his lawn? And the guy says, because I'm the neighbor, as if it's making any sense. It's almost like he was so dumb that he was realizing it was illogical, but his brain couldn't put the two pieces together, so he just kept doubling down. And eventually the lawn guy realizes that the argument is fruitless. This guy is literally going to sit here and argue with him till the end of time. So he does what anyone would do in that situation, puts his headphones back on, tells the guy to back up. He does. He starts the lawnmower and keeps mowing. And so now he can't even hear the guy. He has his headphones on, he's listening to a podcast, there's the sound of the lawnmower over the top. But the guy, for the next 20 minutes he's mowing the lawn, is just standing there screaming into the air. Literally talking to himself because this guy can't hear him at all. And every time he looks up and the guy is waving at him, he looks at him and says, I can't hear you. But he doesn't leave. He just keeps saying stuff to the void, thinking that someone can hear him. And so finally he finishes, he rolls over to his trailer, he drives the lawnmower up onto the back, takes his headphones off finally, and he hears the guy's still going. So he looks at him and just asks him, dude, you're still going? And the neighbor looks all pissed off and says, yes, haven't you been listening this entire time? And the guy mowing the lawn literally starts laughing at him and is like, no, I haven't been for a very long time. I haven't heard any of this. And the neighbor is embarrassed but starts trying to flip it and says that he was just trying to waste his time and that was very rude of him and he's going to report him for being unprofessional to his boss. Keep in mind, he's talking to the owner of the company. So he just handed him a card and said, you're more than welcome to call my boss whenever you see fit. You have a good day, sir. And left. But I love how in that guy's mind, that was a great use of his day. You were on a call. You needed to get rid of the background noise. You went out there to yell at him and then spent 30 minutes screaming at a guy who wasn't listening while the entire neighborhood was just watching you just go ballistic on a lawnmower. The fact that he couldn't hear him at all and he took off his headphones and he asked him if he had been listening at all, that just adds insult to injury. He thought he was giving some huge motivational speech, bro. Really thought he was a basketball coach from a Disney movie at halftime getting people hyped up. Nah, you were just talking to yourself with extra steps. Alright, this one's funny, but it requires a little bit of backstory. The person that sent this in to me doesn't have a normal Saturday, Sunday weekend. They have Wednesday, Thursday off, and they work 100% online from home. So they can kind of wear whatever they want. They're always in sweats and whatnot. But that's the benefit of the job. If you don't have to dress up for work, I don't know why you would. Could you imagine, you work from home, you never have to Zoom? There is no dress code. You just put a suit on at 7 a.m. because you like it. I would think you're a little bit of a psychopath. He lives in an apartment building, though, and he goes to the gym in the apartment building to get his workout on every day because he keeps it consistent. Good for you. I wish I had that type of follow-through. I can only upload every day, not work out. Anyways, he's at the gym and there's this old man on the treadmill who keeps giving him dirty looks. And he's not sure why. He had seen the guy around before but never interacted with them. So finally, after he's been staring for a while, he just smiles at him and says, "How's your day?" And the old man, clearly already grumpy, just kinda goes back and says, "Why aren't you at work? You're too young to be retired." Which, wouldn't you look stupid if the guy said, "Yeah, I made a company and sold it for $20 billion when I was younger. I am retired." And even if he's not retired, it's none of your business. So he kinda tries to reply nicely and says, "Oh, I work from home and this is my day off." "Why are you lying? It can't be your day off. It's a weekday." "Yeah, well, my company kind of lets us pick our days off, and I picked these 2 days because I like it better that way, because I like to have my days off during the week when everyone else is working, so stuff's a lot less busy." "That's dumb. No boss would ever do that. You're lying. You're unemployed. I bet you don't even live in this apartment complex." And he starts saying to him, "No, I work from home. I work from home. So, it's nice. I don't really care what my days off are because I work from here all the time." And now that he's added the work from home element, this old guy is even more confused. You would think after the last 2 years, Grandpa would have heard of working from home and Zoom, considering everyone and their mom has at least had to interact with it a little bit. But he was acting like someone from the medieval times that had been brought to modern times and given an iPad. Just, what? Anyways, the guy starts laughing because he just can't believe that this old man doesn't understand working from home or that people don't always have Saturday and Sunday off. And as soon as he starts laughing, the old man is like, "See, I knew you were lying. If you weren't lying, you wouldn't be laughing right now." And now he's getting annoyed, so his nicety is wearing off. He's not going to try to respect this old guy anymore because he's just being rude. So he says, "Yeah, I'm laughing at how dumb you are." And the old man is like, "Well, you're never going to get a job if you have that attitude towards your elders. Why would anyone hire someone with that attitude?" And he's like, "Man, I don't know. I don't have a job. Remember? How would I know how to get hired?" And the old man is like, "I don't understand how you afford to live in this apartment complex, but I'm telling you, when mom and dad's money runs out or something and you have to move out, it's going to be such a good day for me. You kids today don't want to work hard. You just want to sit back and relax all the time, and that's not the way the world works." Which, obviously is not the way the world works, but saying you want someone to get evicted and kicked out seems a little unfair. And even then, he does have a job. Just because you can't understand someone's job doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? Imagine someone just saying that a garbage man doesn't have a job because they don't believe that's a job. That's kind of what's going on right now. Just because you can't comprehend it doesn't mean it exists. So he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I live here. You have to deal with it. And the old man says that he feels uncomfortable working out in the presence of someone so uncivilized and leaves the gym. And so the subscriber who sent this to me finished his workout. But when he leaves, he sees the old guy is in the office where the property managers are. And he walks out and he sees him point at him. And he clearly had gone in there to try to report that there was a strange man in the gym. And the property manager waved at him because they knew each other and he waved back. And the old man's face just contorted as if he sniffed the smelliest fart of all time. But that was the end of that. I don't know. I feel like these old people, they get to retirement and they don't want to enjoy it, man. My grandma was dope, dude. She lived a long time, and the entire time she was vibing. She didn't really let stuff get to her. If she did, she was funny about it. Just relax, man. Just relax. Life is not that deep all the time. I promise. People can have days off other than Saturday and Sunday, Grandpa. And this last one is short. This actually happened to not my friend, but a friend of my friend. He just bought this old farmhouse, right? And he's been renovating it, and it was the first time that he was staying there. And he had just bought some new locks and locked up this weird entrance to the basement on the left-hand side of the house. And at around 3 a.m., he thought he heard some rattling, but whatever. It didn't really, wake him up. It was just something he heard of. So the next morning, he goes to look, and it does kind of look like the door's been messed with a little bit. So he takes the lock off, and he opens it. And the basement is disconnected from the house. You can't get into it other from this entrance on the side of the house. And so he goes down the stairs and he realizes what he was probably hearing is whoever had been living in the basement, because there's clearly a little bit of a squatter setup down there. So someone had been living in the basement of this old farmhouse, probably didn't realize that someone had bought it. and had come last night to collect their stuff or come inside only to find it locked. So he set up some cameras and left it unlocked the next night, and sure enough, a guy had gone in, got a bunch of stuff and left, but now he's super paranoid because he's just worried that the guy's gonna come back, what if he feels like it's his house? And I was telling my friend that you gotta tell him to move, bro. This is 100% straight out of a horror movie. If he stays there, it's gonna be cursed, he's gonna come back, steal his identity. I can't say that for sure. I just feel like if you find out someone's been secretly living in the basement of a house you just bought and they leave after you, you're always going to be worried about them coming back, dude. I'm shocked the previous owners didn't know. It must have not been lived in for a while. But that's my absolute worst nightmare, buying a house, finding out someone's been secretly living in the attic. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to press the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments section down below. I've really been grinding to get these long videos done, so please like and comment and subscribe if you're new. Turn on those notifications. If you really like these, you want to listen to the audio version, I do post it over on Spotify. Feel free to go check it out. Link down below, along with the link to the intro song. And if you really, really want to help me out, I do make a podcast on my third channel, Scrubbe, where I just react to weird news and whatnot. So you can go check that out if you want. But yeah, on that note, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.